guys, and welcome back to the channel. As promised, we're going to be speaking about boundaries. So growing up in the Caribbean, we weren't taught about boundaries, which is basically how you feel about a situation, giving personal space, having time to yourself. That was basically non-existent. We were more taught about having community rather than having individual space. Having individual space meant that you were told things like you're selfish and you're standoffish and all these different things, but you growing up didn't know that what you having a personal boundary, that you didn't like crowds, and so you stood off in a corner, or you went to an area and you read a book. That was you giving yourself personal space. But growing up in the islands, we were not afforded this luxury of having space and time to yourself so that you can think and that you can basically recuperate. When you come back from school, you have been going, your brain has just been going a million miles an hour because it was in the process of thinking. And then when you get home, you need that time to decompress. But no, was basically non-existent. And as soon as you got home, you had homework to do, and then you had chores to do, and even after those things were done, you still had to sit in the area where the family was gathered and not basically be on your own. I'm going to speak about the Caribbean because that's my culture. In the Caribbean, we were taught about respecting our elders, and therefore we couldn't answer back our elders. And sometimes they said things to us that hurt our feelings, but we couldn't say anything else. Otherwise, we're going to get... I want to talk about 5 types that mainly affect us, the black community and the island community. Those are the ones that I want to talk about mainly. Number 1 is protecting your personal space. This is where you have to give people the parameters on how to deal with you, and you have a right to say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable with you being so close to me, so can you give me some space? When I tell you, during the times of that C word, that I had enjoyed it so much because you didn't have people in your personal space, your personal bubble. That 6 feet apart was so perfect because it meant that when you're at the cash register, no one is breathing down your neck and talking and spitting all their germs all over you. I hate it so much. So personal boundaries is number 1. Someone is in your personal boundaries, someone is violating your body by touching your body and you don't want them to touch you, could just let them know, hey, I'm not comfortable with people touching me, and go along. And if they keep on doing it, then you know how best to handle that situation is to give yourself that space by basically finding another area to be in. Number 2 is an emotional boundary, and we all need emotional boundaries because we tell ourselves that we can take on so much emotionally when we cannot, and we end up being burnt out. We end up feeling disconnected from ourselves because why? In our mind, we have taken on so much of other situations. For me personally, I have to watch myself with this because when others come to me with their sappy stories, I tend to get sucked in very easily, and I take on these people's emotional baggage as if it's my own. When the Bible tells us that we are to cast our cares upon Jesus, so nobody should be coming in and basically jumping all their emotional baggage onto you, right? You have to know how much emotional situation that you can handle, and you pass these individuals on to the relevant people who can best help them, right? Such as therapists, their pastors. You have to know how much emotional baggage you can take in without you having to take on these emotional situations as your own, because after a while of taking in so much emotional situation of fear and that person's sad story and this person's sad story. After a while, you become so drained in your emotions, and it's not a healthy space to be in. And tapping on to that, we're going to talk about the mental, because if you don't know how to not have so much emotional situation placed into your lap, you're going to go mental, and therefore you need to have mental boundaries. Mental boundaries help you to keep your autonomy, right? It gives you the ability to have your own perspective and your own opinions upon in situations, so that you don't automatically navigate to what others are telling you. And we see this so much in society today, that they have what is called groupthink, meaning whatever the group wants, that's what they're gonna go along with. And I've been in situations where your opinion is different from the group, and what the group does is separates you, they isolate you until you conform to the group, and that is not good. And every one of us should have our own opinion and our own perspective without someone trying to sway us into following what they want us to do. The fourth boundary is in regards to your time. And it seems to say that we shouldn't have a restriction on time. But I think time is one of the biggest boundaries that we should have in our life, because many of us are overworked, because we take on situations at our job places that are very time consuming, and we don't get enough rest in our bodies, and so we are stressed and we are burnt out. Why? Because we are overworked. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves the opportunity to have self-care, meaning you have a day just for yourself where you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about anything, you're just rejuvenating your mind spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And it's very important to have that time for yourself. And it's not selfish. When others may call you selfish for taking time for yourself, but it's not selfish. It's called loving yourself. The Bible tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we can't love others more than ourselves. We can't love others if we don't love ourselves. And a part of loving yourself is taking time out to take care of yourself, to take care of you mentally, spiritually, and even your health-wise. So much diseases is proven, so much diseases are caused by stress. And stress comes on, why? Because we are overworked, and we don't take that time for ourselves to separate ourselves. We are always on the go, like we're the Energizer Bunny, and we are not the Energizer Bunny. So our fifth boundaries is about dealing with material possession, which is whether your money, your clothing, your house, whatever resource that you have that is material, you should have a boundary around that as well. Because come into our lives, they are in our lives already currently, and all they do is take. And so you have to have parameters around your physical possession. Don't lend out your money if you don't have it to lend, because a lot of times we just give out, and guess what? We don't get it back. If you have enough resources just for yourself, it's not selfish to think about you for a change. Yes, you can share with others, but think about yourself as well. When they say in a plane crash, and you can't put on somebody else's oxygen mask unless you help put on your own first. So when it comes to your material possessions, Make sure you have enough for you, and then you can help somebody else's. So to set boundaries, you must communicate clearly and effectively, letting others know what you want and what you don't want, what you like from what you do not like. You have to let others know the things that you are not in agreement with. Expect resistance, because others are gonna push back. They're gonna want to know why all of a sudden they can't do this certain things that they were doing before. So you must expect resistance. Be consistent. You can't today have a boundary and tomorrow you don't have a boundary. No, be consistent. Every time someone steps on a boundary, you know how to rectify that situation. You have to be consistent and letting others know, hey, I don't agree with this, and this is the consequence for whatever. But you can flip-flop on your boundaries one day today and tomorrow you don't have a boundary. No, you have to be consistent. You have to practice self-care, because putting boundaries in place when you didn't have any before, let me tell you, it's very exhausting. Listen to music, dance, get all that negative energy out, put it out there, and practice self-care. Some people go to the spa, others go shopping. If you don't have the money, do not go to shopping. Keep that money in your pocket. But there are different methods of having self-care. You can do a movie day by yourself at home. You just sit down and you relax and you watch all the comedy movies. If you like horrors, watch your horror, but I don't understand how a self-care could be watching horrors. But do you? I'm not gonna, my self-care will be watching Christmas movies or watching comedies. Ways that we can set boundaries, right? And some ways that you know that you don't have any boundaries, it's that you're not speaking up for yourself. You're tired and you're always cranky. Why? Because you're not speaking up for yourself. You're letting others walk over you and tell you and do you any old thing. You're letting them encroach on your time. You have to know what your boundary is and how to let others know, hey, this is what's gonna happen going forward. I know I have allowed this in the past, but going forward, these are the things that I'm no longer tolerating. Another way you know you don't have boundaries is you let others talk to you any old how. Like, I've been there in situations in letting people talk to me any old how, because I figured I couldn't stand up for myself. So my butterflies, I want you to speak up when your boundaries are being crossed. And if you don't have any boundaries in place, it's time for you to start setting boundaries and letting others know, hey, this is what I'm not gonna tolerate going forward. And if they agree, whether they agree or they don't agree, you will set those boundaries in place and have a plan in mind for when others break those boundaries. Start setting those boundaries and be consistent. Be very effective when you're communicating these boundaries, and practice self-care as much as possible. Take some time out to relax and to rejuvenate yourself emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I'll see you in our next video.